When it comes to camp stoves, there is no shortage of options. You can find stoves that run off isobutane cells, denatured alcohol, and propane. But there's one in particular that doesn't use any of those. For fuel, it uses the one thing that is in almost endless supply when you're out camping or backpacking: wood. This is the BioLite CampStove 2, an upgraded version over the original CampStove, offering 50% more battery power and an updated LED indicator panel. And the first thing you might notice about this stove is that it isn't small. By itself, meaning without a pot to boil water, it's larger and heavier than the entire MSR wind burner or a jet boil stove with fuel. Throw in the kettle pot, which sells separately for nearly $50, and it's significantly larger and more than twice as heavy, nearly 3.5 pounds in all. On top of that, you'll also need some fire starters to even get the stove lit. So if you're an ounce counter, this might not be the stove for you. But realistically, what you can get out of the CampStove 2 might make up for the additional weight, and it's quickly become one of our favorite stoves in our arsenal. For starters, it's a hell of a lot of fun to use, once you learn how to use it. And that's a big point. This stove comes with a learning curve. Unlike its gas or alcohol-powered counterparts, you can't just light a match or strike a lighter and start cooking right away. You'll have to work to get the CampStove 2 to blow flames, and boy does it spit fire. Pick small sticks to start and then add larger pieces as the fire builds, and try to pick a harder wood so the fire will burn longer. And you'll have to maintain that fire. I've managed to boil about a liter of water in around 4 minutes, but look away for too long and your fire will die down, and it can take what feels like ages just to boil water. That's the thing, where with other stoves you'll be worried about fuel consumption, you don't have to stress over it with the CampStove 2 so long as you have a healthy supply of sticks around. And that's another point. Those sticks need to be dry. If you're out in wet conditions and don't have dry wood on hand, you're going to have trouble starting a fire. For this, you could pack an emergency supply of the wood biofuel pellets BioLite sells for around $6, but that's going to add even more weight to your pack. What makes the CampStove 2 so efficient, however, is how it captures energy normally lost to heat to charge its internal battery. This not only powers the jets that make the fire burn fast and hot, but also the USB port beneath the LED indicators. This can be used to charge your phone, a camera, or nearly anything USB powered, including the LED light that comes with the stove. Its 2600 mAh battery, which puts out about 3 watts of power, can also be charged separately via the micro USB port on the bottom of the unit. It'll provide enough juice to charge up a camera or keep your phone from dying, but don't expect it to keep you going indefinitely. After about 7 or 8 full burn cycles, we only managed to charge the battery about 50%. Still, it's useful enough, especially in dire circumstances, that I wouldn't call it a gimmick. One major difference is how clean the CampStove 2 burns compared to other stoves. It doesn't. Well, environmentally, it's extremely clean, but unlike other stoves, this one will have a bit more cleanup thanks to the soot and ash left behind in the burn chamber. And finally, our least favorite part of the CampStove 2. The so-called improved LED indicators. We struggled to see them even in the shade. If you're using the stove during the day, the indicators are virtually useless unless you block the sun with your hand and get eye level with the stove. We went by sound for the fan speed, visuals for the burn chamber heat, and didn't even bother to check the battery indicator when it was running. We're not going to pretend the BioLite CampStove 2 is the most practical stove out there for everyone. It has a pretty specific target audience. Those who don't stress every last ounce and don't mind that it takes a little longer to boil water. And it isn't cheap. It will set you back $129.95 plus tax and leave you without a pot to cook with. That said, you'll never have to buy or lug around fuel again. It's an efficient and cleverly designed piece of gear that, if nothing else, will keep your devices charged in a pinch. And not to mention, it's just more fun to use. That's enough to keep us reaching for the CampStove 2 over and over.